Live from New Delhi, you're watching D-Day India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. India steps up efforts to designate TRF a front for the Lashkar-e-Taiba as a UN-listed terror outfit for its alleged involvement in carrying out the Pahalgam attack. Russia-Ukraine to hold peace talks in Turkiye's Istanbul. Putin to skip direct talks. Kremlin aide to lead delegation. Zelensky says he would attend talks only if Putin is present. Syrian President Ahmed al-Sharaa calls lifting of US sanctions on Syria historic and courageous decision, urges investors from around the world to take advantage of available opportunities in various sectors. India has stepped up efforts to designate the Resistance Front or TRF, a front for the Lashkar-e-Taiba, as a UN-listed terror outfit for its alleged involvement in carrying out the Pahalgam attack. An Indian technical team is in New York engaging with key UN bodies to push for the designation of the Resistance Front as a global terror group. The Indian officials on Thursday briefed the monitoring team of the UN Security Council's 1267 Sanctions Committee on the activities of the Resistance Front. The Indian team is also set to meet representatives of the UN House of Counter-Terrorism and Counter-Terrorism Committee Executive Directorate to present evidence related to the group's involvement in the Pahalgam attack. This is the first time since Operation Synindhur that New Delhi has raised TRF with the UN and its anti-terror bodies. This comes after Pakistan managed to get TRF's name removed from the April 25 Security Council statement on the terror attack. TRF claimed the responsibility for the brutal April 22nd attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam, which killed 26 civilians, mostly tourists. And the terror attack in Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir is being condemned worldwide. Asking a question in British Parliament, British Conservative MP Bob Blackman asked about the steps the UK Foreign Secretary is taking to ensure that terrorist bases are removed from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Replying to Blackman's question, Foreign Secretary David Lammy condemned Pahalgam terrorist attack, calling it a horrendous act. He further added that UK will continue to work with close partner to deal with terrorist threats.
Following the terrorist attack on the 22nd of April, India and Pakistan engaged in military activity and India hit 9 terrorist bases. Now there's a fragile peace, which of course is still being negotiated today. What efforts is the Foreign Secretary making to ensure that the terrorist bases are removed from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir?
Well, let me be clear that the horrendous terrorism that we saw, 26 nationals stripped and shot, was horrific. And we condemn it, and we will continue to work with close partners to deal with these terrorist threats. He's right. All of us have to lean in now and ensure that we are supporting efforts on both sides to deal with horrendous terrorism. That is what in the end will maintain an enduring peace.
India's Operation Synindhur has been hailed as a decisive military victory by international defense experts. Talking about the operation on various media platforms, renowned international analysts including Tom Cooper and John Spencer have provided detailed assessments, terming them as India's victory.
International defense experts have hailed Operation Synindhur as India's decisive military victory. John Spencer, a prominent US military veteran and head of urban warfare studies at the Modern War Institute in New York, said that Operation Synindhur was a rare and unambiguous victory. Spencer outlined several key strategic effects that demonstrate India's victory. He observed, a new red line was drawn and enforced. Terror attacks originating from Pakistani soil will now be met with military force, establishing Operation Sindoor as a precedent. Military superiority demonstrated. India showcased the capability to strike any target in Pakistan at will, including terror sites, drone coordination, hubs, and air bases. In contrast, Pakistan was unable to penetrate any defended area inside India. Restored deterrence. By retaliating forcefully but stopping short of full war, India controlled escalation, sent a clear signal of its willingness and ability to respond, thereby restoring deterrence. Asserted strategic independence. India managed the crisis without seeking international mediation, enforcing its doctrine on sovereign term. Austrian aerial warfare analyst and military historian Tom Cooper characterized India's air campaign as a clear-cut victory. Cooper noted that Pakistan's inability to mount a credible response underscored the effectiveness of India's strategy. He said it was the failure of Pakistan's deterrence strategy. Pakistan's reliance on threats of retaliation and nuclear escalation failed because India proceeded to strike back and even escalated in response to Pakistan's actions. He also points out that the fighting ceased because Islamabad initiated contact to sound for a ceasefire after suffering heavy losses. He suggested that Pakistan's decision to halt operations was likely influenced by insufficient stocks of effective ammunition, such as attack UAVs. Member of International Press Association, Jennifer Zeng said that India carried out a series of precise and powerful strikes that destroyed Pakistan's terror camps, air defense systems, and key military bases. Also, the damage piled up in Pakistan's attempts to retaliate were repeatedly foiled. Its leadership grew desperate and turned to the United States and Saudi Arabia, pleading for diplomatic help to prevent a complete military collapse. India didn't win just militarily, it rewrote the rules of engagement. With Operation Sindoor, India has demonstrated that strategic restraint does not mean inaction, and when provoked, it can and will deliver a measured but overwhelming response, a fact that is now being acknowledged by the world. Bureau Report, DD India.
And by integrating electronic warfare, sensors, satellites and state-of-the-art intelligence in Operation Sindoor, India has set new standards in modern warfare. This report has the details.
Operation Sindoor has showcased India's strides in technology when it came to both kinetic and non-kinetic means. While kinetic means involves using direct physical force and traditional military weapons, non-kinetic means engages cyber warfare and sanctions. The operation is an integration of electronic warfare, sensors, satellites, and state-of-the-art intelligence and surveillance, and above all, its indigenously developed technology. The Akash surface-to-air missile defense system has proven its efficacy in intercepting Pakistani missile and repelling attacks by drone swarms on India. With a real-time multi-sensor data processing and threat assessment, Akash can intercept multiple threats simultaneously. The D4 anti-drone system is instrumental in detecting, tracking, and neutralizing drones. A 3D surveillance radar, Rohini, monitors airspace for the Indian Air Force, while Swati is designed to accurately detect the location of enemy weapons. The Samyukta electronic warfare system disrupts enemy radars, communication network, or missiles from receiving accurate information about their targets. Nagastra-1, the country's first indigenous suicide drone, which uses GPS for precision strikes. Developed by an India-Russia joint venture, the BrahMos missile was used by the Indian Air Force to carry out precision strikes on Pakistani air bases. Indian offensives also put on display technological capabilities by integrating foreign-made smart ammunitions and stealth bombs on its indigenous platforms and launching precise strikes on adversaries and cross-border terror hubs. India also launched long-range stealth ammunitions from platforms to target Pakistani air defense systems and radar sites. 10 satellites operated by the Indian Space Research Organization or ISRO worked round the clock to provide the Indian Armed Forces with real-time intelligence, secure communications, and precision navigation. high-resolution Earth observation systems like the Cartosat and RISAT series delivered continuous surveillance across terrain, borders, and hostile airspace. RISAT's all-weather synthetic aperture radar capabilities were particularly crucial in cloud-covered regions and mountainous terrains. Bureau Report, DD India.
And after the big success of Operation Synindhur, an 11-day Tiranga Yatra is now moving across the country to honor the courage and sacrifice of the Indian Armed Forces. In Jammu and Kashmir, a Tiranga Yatra will be held in Srinagar to celebrate Operation Synindhur. Earlier on Wednesday, the marches saw enthusiastic participation from citizens, children, NCC cadets and government officials who waved flags and chanted slogans like Bharat Mata Ki Jai. Here's a detailed report.
From the icy heights of Himalayas to the shores of Kanyakumari, the spirit of patriotism echoes loud and proud as India rises in unison to salute its sentinels of the soil. Following the resounding success of Operation Synindhur, an 11-day-long Tiranga Yatra now courses through the heart of India, paying tribute to the unmatched valor and sacrifice of our armed forces. Muslim Rashtriya Manch on Wednesday organized a protest at Lal Chowk in Srinagar. Holding tricolour in their hands, a group travelled all the way from Rajasthan to Srinagar, expressing their anger against the brutal killings of 26 innocent people in Pahalgam.
ये भारत रैली वहां दिल्ली से होते हुए हरियाणा, पंजाब, जम्मू कश्मीर और कल पहलगाम में जाके वैसरन वैली में जो पाकिस्तान ने अपने उग्रवादियों द्वारा वहां पे कॉवर्डली जो अटैक कराया था, जो अटैक किया था, जो जिसमें 26 जो लोग जो है शहीद हुए और उनके वहां पे उन लोगों के लिए वहां पे श्रद्धांजलि दी गई.
Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis addressed a large gathering during the Tiranga Yatra held in honor of the Indian Army's success in Operation Synindhur. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath in Lucknow and Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami in Dehradun led these patriotic marches, marked by energetic chants and a sea of waving national flags. Odisha Chief Minister Mohan Charan Manjhi flagged off the bike rally under Tiranga Yatra in Bhubaneswar, while in Jharkhand's capital Ranchi, residents held a Tiranga Yatra with a 100 feet long Indian tricolour to honour the Indian Armed Forces. Tripura Chief Minister Dr. Manik Saha led a massive Tiranga Yatra that was taken out in solidarity with the armed forces for the success in carrying out Operation Synindhur. While Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma took part in Tiranga Yatra in Guwahati on Wednesday.
We are also justifiably very proud of the successful operation which was carried out by the Indian Armed Forces from 7th May to 10th May, which broke the back of not only the Pakistan terrorists, it also forced the Pakistan army to seek a ceasefire with the Indian army.
In Manipur's capital Imphal, people enthusiastically participated in the Tiranga Yatra, celebrating the Indian Army's courageous Operation Synindhur. While in Itanagar, the capital of Arunachal Pradesh, locals organized a Tiranga Yatra where they carried Indian flags and celebrated the valor of the Indian Armed Forces. Various railway stations lit up in different states in solidarity. With Tiranga Yatras being held throughout the nation, these railway stations range from various regions and all corners of the country. Nishchoy for DD India.
All right, we'll go across to Srinagar now. DD India's Vishal Barrister joins us live from there. Vishal, good morning. Tiranga Yatra aims to honour armed forces and celebrate Operation Synindhur and to ignite a wave of patriotism and national unity across the country. Tell us, how is it going on there in Srinagar?
Well, absolutely. A very good morning to you, Abhishek. We all know that Kashmir is the crown of India, and the tricolour Yatra, Tiranga Yatra, would be held today from Sher-e-Kashmir Park to the Lal Chowk where I am standing, because this is the epicenter of Srinagar. And people from all walks of life, including the civil society and different political parties, they would be holding a Tiranga Yatra, and it would be attended by people of all age and group. So we are expecting a kind of spectacular show as far as patriotism is concerned. It's a salute to our soldiers for their bravery and in the way they fought for the country, and also accolades, drew accolades from all the countries that India has done its job in a precise manner. So definitely it would be quite a show, and we are here. It would be a kilometer-long walk, but would go through the streets of Srinagar, and definitely what a sight to watch.
All right, Vishal, Tiranga Yatra will be held today there, but what is the ground situation in Srinagar specifically? Things coming back to normal, and people also have started coming out freely?
Well, absolutely, things have melted down, and like school colleges opening, the airlines are back in business, the shops are opening. This is Lal Chowk, and shortly the market would also open up, because 10 o'clock is the time for shops to pull up their shutters. But let me tell you that the security forces are fighting a dual battle. One is on the borders, and the other is against the enemy within. An encounter is on, as informed by Jammu Kashmir Police. This is a joint operation by Jammu Kashmir Police and security forces in Nadar Tral. 2 terrorists are holed up there. Civilians, I beg your pardon, and are being evacuated. So yesterday, day before yesterday, there was another encounter. Today it is also going on. Let me tell you that Operation Synindhur has not been called off. There's still, Kashmir is still in the state of high alert. I'm talking about Kashmir and Jammu, both Jammu and Kashmir. But when we talk about Kashmir, it is the valley and South Kashmir and North Kashmir. So we have to be on high alert. Security forces are on their job. This Tiranga Yatra is a salute to the armed forces, to the security forces who are fighting the enemy within the region and also on the borders.
Absolutely. Life tiptoes back to normal there in Jammu and Kashmir. We'll leave it at that. Vishal, thank you for your inputs. In another crackdown against terrorism in India's Jammu and Kashmir, an encounter broke out between security forces and terrorists in the Pulwama district on Thursday morning. Kashmir Zone Police, in a social media post, informed that the security forces launched a cordon and search operation in the Nadir village of Tral in Avantipora. Further details are awaited as the operation progresses. This is the second encounter in 48 hours. Earlier on Tuesday, 3 terrorists of Lashkar-e-Taiba were killed in a gunfight with security forces in the forest area of Shukru Kela in Shopian district of Jammu and Kashmir. And India's cabinet chaired by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday approves the establishment of one more semiconductor unit under India Semiconductor mission. Information and Broadcasting Minister Ashwini Vaishnav announced that the 6th semiconductor unit will be set in Jewar, Uttar Pradesh.
सेमीकंडक्टर यूनिट जो भारत का छठा सेमीकंडक्टर यूनिट बनेगा वो जेवर उत्तर प्रदेश में बन रहा है, उसको अप्रूव किया है। आप सब जानते हो कि अब तक 5 सेमीकंडक्टर के यूनिट्स इंडिया सेमीकंडक्टर मिशन के तहत अप्रूव होने के बाद में बहुत तेजी से उसमें कंस्ट्रक्शन चल रहा है उन 5 में, जो कि HCL आप जानते हैं, हिंदुस्तान कंप्यूटर्स लिमिटेड, जो बहुत लंबे टाइम से भारत की एक हार्डवेयर में बड़ी कंपनी रही है, वो और फॉक्सकॉन जो दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स मैन्युफैक्चरर है, उन दोनों का जॉइंट वेंचर है। दिस जॉइंट वेंचर विल मैन्युफैक्चर डिस्प्ले ड्राइवर चिप्स, और ये देश की रिक्वायरमेंट भी बहुत बड़ी है। सो डिस्प्ले ड्राइवर चिप इज वन ऑफ द की कंपोनेंट्स इन द एंटायर डिस्प्ले असेंबली। ये प्लांट लगेगा, इसमें 20,000 वेफर पर मंथ की कैपेसिटी होगी, और जो चिप्स इससे बन के निकलेगी 36 मिलियन चिप्स पर मंथ का इसका रहेगा।
The Foreign Affairs Minister of Honduras, Enrique Reina, arrived in New Delhi for the inauguration ceremony of the Embassy of Honduras on a 4-day visit to India. Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal on Thursday extended a warm welcome to the visiting Honduras Foreign Minister on his arrival. Sharing a post on X, Jaiswal said, and I quote him here, Warm welcome to Foreign Minister Enrique Reina of Honduras as he arrives in New Delhi for the inauguration ceremony of the Embassy of the Republic of Honduras. A significant milestone in the warm and friendly bilateral ties between India and Honduras, unquote. India and Honduras enjoy cordial and friendly relations. It has consistently supported India at the multilateral stage over the years. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Donald Trump announces $200 billion Boeing deal in Qatar. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin will not attend Thursday's peace talks in Istanbul between Moscow and Kiev, the first direct negotiations in 3 years. Despite proposing the talks without preconditions, Putin will send a delegation of seasoned officials, including advisor Vladimir Medinsky and Deputy Defense Minister Alexander Fomin. Medinsky, a staunch nationalist involved in earlier talks, will lead Russia's team alongside Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Galuzin, Fomin and GRU intelligence chief Igor Kostyukov. Key Russian figures like Lavrov and Ushakov were notably excluded. After Russia confirmed its team, the US announced Trump would not attend, either reversing earlier hints. Putin's absence, along with Trump's, has tempered hopes for meaningful progress in ending the conflict that started in February 2022. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who had challenged Putin to meet him face-to-face, said Putin's no-show signals a lack of commitment to peace. Earlier, the Kiev leader has said he would take part in the negotiations only if Putin was there. Trump is pushing for a 30-day ceasefire, an idea Zelensky supports immediately, while Putin prefers preliminary talks first. Trump, frustrated by delays, has warned of possible secondary sanctions against Moscow. Now, the US delegation to Turkey included Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Senior Envoy Steve Witkoff and Keith Kellogg. Rubio met with Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andrei Sybiga on Wednesday on the sidelines of a NATO foreign ministers meeting in Antalya, Turkiye. Sybiga said he explained Zelensky's vision of further peace efforts during this critical week. All right, Akshay Dongre has more information on this. He is joining us live from New Delhi. Akshay, Russia-Ukraine to hold peace talks in Turkey's Istanbul, but Putin will not be present directly. You think Putin's absence, along with Trump's, has tempered hopes for a meaningful progress in ending the conflict?
Well, it seems unlikely even at this point, Abhishek, because, sort of commitment that is required from both the sides is still not visible when it comes to the ground action. However, the decision that has been taken by Vladimir Putin to not attend the peace summit after there were hints that he will be going and there will be some sort of pressure that Russia would be in after Donald Trump has repeatedly called on the two countries to end the conflict. But it seems that instead of Vladimir Putin, Vladimir Medinsky, who is the presidential aide, will be going along with the military intelligence chief, the deputy defense minister, the deputy foreign minister as well. So what we are seeing is that no leader from a very high ranking in the government. For example, the other leaders such as the defense minister or the foreign minister or other senior dignitaries are going, their deputies are going. So it either can be a very deliberate action that is being taken by Russia to also look down upon Ukraine. This can be used as a tactic that if Volodymyr Zelensky is coming, then Vladimir Putin wants to show that he doesn't want to go and directly interact with him, because there have been repeated provocations from Zelensky as well, where he has been calling on Putin to come and meet and face him, talk to him face to face. But it seems that a lot of politics is going on as far as Russia and Ukraine is concerned.
Yeah.
When it comes to Istanbul, many reasons are still not known out that what is the reason, but seeing all of this, it appears that there are still a lot of loopholes that remain as far as a meaningful conversation is concerned, and a meaningful dialogue to end the conflict, which has already dragged on for far too long, has resulted in a lot of devastation for the region, as well as economic catastrophe for both the countries. But it seems that Russia has had an upper hand for a very long time as far as this conflict is concerned. Especially the US and the Western powers being more and more involved in Gaza and Gaza conflict that has been also going on. So what it seems is that there will be talks, there will be some kind of pressure once again mounted, but will it result in end of the conflict? That is highly doubtful.
Yes,
now.
first direct talks in more than 3 years of conflict, but something should come out of this meeting, since Russia was the first one to push for these talks. But for the benefit of viewers, Akshay, what are both sides' demands to end the conflict, and also what's happening on the battlefield?
Well, the demands are quite clear. Ukraine has been saying that its territory should be returned. Now that includes the regions such as Donetsk, Donbass, Crimea as well, that was annexed by Russia after a couple of years back, at least about in about 2013, when the conflict escalated between the two countries. We have seen that how Crimea had become a flashpoint. Then now the military action was a direct result of the attempts by Ukraine to join NATO. So the demands of Ukraine is clear. They're demanding Crimea. They're demanding all the regions that have been annexed occupied by Russia after the conflict started. Besides that, they also are seeking for some assurances from Russia that its sovereignty will be protected, whereas the Russian side has been also very clear. They are calling for these only regions like Donetsk and Donbass that are Russian speaking. There were popular sentiments in the people of Donetsk, Donbass, and in these regions that they want to go back to Russia. And Russia is also claiming legitimacy over Crimea, world acceptance over Donbass and Donetsk along with Crimea. They're also making demand that Ukraine should never be a part of NATO, and the Western military alliances should not move further east. So all of these are the demands that have been raised by both the sides, with especially Crimea, Donetsk, Donbass, all of these regions becoming a flashpoint. And until and unless there is an understanding made over these regions that are at this point occupied by Russia, there seems to be less chances of a breakthrough in the peace talks.
All right, Akshay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us the latest on that story. US President Donald Trump has urged Syria's president to join the Abraham Accords, normalizing relations with Israel, as the two leaders met in Riyadh in a first encounter between leaders of the countries in 25 years. Trump also asked Ahmed al-Sharaa to deport Palestinian terrorists and tell foreign fighters to leave the country, as well as to take control of camps for captured ISIS fighters. The meeting in Saudi Arabia came after Trump's announcement that he would lift sanctions on Syria and move to restore ties with its new leader. Trump became the first US president in 25 years to meet a Syrian leader. Meanwhile, Syrian president called the lifting of sanctions on Syria announced by Trump a historic and courageous decision. He also called on investors from around the world to benefit from what he described as opportunities in various sectors in Syria. The decision to lift the sanctions was a historic, courageous decision that alleviated the suffering of the people, helped in their renaissance, and laid the foundations for stability in the region. We welcome all investors from the homeland, both at home and abroad, and from our Arab and Turkish brothers and friends around the world, and we call on them to take advantage of the available opportunities in various sectors. And US President Donald Trump announced an aerospace agreement between Qatar Airways and Boeing, claiming $200 billion deal, which includes the purchase of 160 aircraft. The announcement came during Trump's visit to Doha on the second leg of his 4-day tour of the Middle East. The former president and Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani were present at the signing ceremony. Qatar Airways CEO Badr Mohammed Al Mir and Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg signed the agreement in the presence of both leaders. Trump and Prince Mohammed, the kingdom's de facto ruler, signed a host of economic and bilateral agreements. Trump also touched on shared concerns about the conflict in Gaza and Iran's nuclear program. Now, US President Donald Trump renewed his appeal to Iran to reach a nuclear deal with the US and its allies, saying he wants to see Iran thrive and that he is counting on Qatar to help pave the way. His comments came as the United States issued sanctions on Wednesday to target Iranian efforts to domestically manufacture components for ballistic missiles.
You're also working with us very closely with respect to negotiating a deal with Iran, which is the far friendlier course that you would see. I mean, we have two courses. There's only two courses. There aren't 3 or 4 or 5. There's 2. There's a friendly and a non-friendly, and the non-friendly is a violent course, and I don't want that. I'll say it up front, I don't want that, but they have to get moving. I hope the Iranian leaders understand that what you're doing, and really what you're doing for them, is a big favor.
Meanwhile, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said Iran would not bow to any bully in response to Trump's earlier criticism of Tehran during his Gulf tour.
We will not bow down to any bully. This is not just my word, but all women and youth, elites, and those who are zealous will not bow down to any power. Trump thought he could come here and shout slogans that would then be afraid and fall short in the face of his promises. We will not trade the honor and pride of this country with anyone.
All right, still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. India-New Zealand Business Summit held in wake of free trade talks. PM Lakson and Indian Minister Margarita attend. Cuba begins restoring cellular service after major outage amid ongoing power and supply crisis. And amidst all the films and fashion of the 77th Cannes Film Festival this year, the India Pavilion was re-inaugurated and renamed as Bharat Pavilion. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of our top stories. India steps up efforts to designate TRF a front for the Lashkar-e-Taiba as a UN-listed terror outfit for its alleged involvement in carrying out the Pahalgam attack. Russia-Ukraine to hold peace talks in Turkiye's Istanbul. Putin to skip direct talks. Kremlin aide to lead delegation. Zelensky says he would attend talks only if Putin is present. Syrian President Ahmed al-Sharaa calls lifting of US sanctions on Syria historic and courageous decision, urges investors from around the world to take advantage of available opportunities in various sectors. Now, the India-New Zealand Business Council held a summit with New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon, Deputy Prime Minister Winston Peters in attendance as a follow-up to the recent free trade talks between the countries. Representing India was the Minister of State for External Affairs, Pavitra Margarita. Let's take a look.
At the India-New Zealand Business Council Summit, Boardroom to Border, held in Auckland, we had visionaries come together reimagining gateways and collaborations for stronger bilateral trade between India and New Zealand. The Kiwi Prime Minister, Christopher Luxon, commenced the summit by sharing his vision for strengthening trade relations following his recent delegation to India, where he met the Indian Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, and initiated free trade agreement negotiations.
When we arrived in India, was great enthusiasm from the Indian side and also from the New Zealand side. Prime Minister Modi and I had met at Laos, and we sort of connected and clicked in, and we sort of have huge respect for each other, and that enabled us to get our systems to sort of pay attention and actually to get on with that work. But as much as we were, as much as Minister Goyal might have been joking about the 60 days or 90 days or whatever, I just would say to you, we're going to do this right, and we're going to do it so that it actually gets to a good outcome for New Zealand and India. And having spent a lot of time in India in my past life at Hindustan Lever or Unilever or Air New Zealand, I just say the Indian teams are very good negotiators, and so we are good negotiators as well. But this will take as long as it needs to take in order for us to get it done. But having said that, we're working very hard to make sure we can get it done within this term of our government as well.
Given the rapid growth of Indian diaspora in New Zealand and their role in strengthening bilateral ties, people-to-people ties, what steps can your government take to further support their integration and harness their potential as a bridge for deeper economic, educational and cultural connection between both nations?
Yeah, look, I think everything starts at the people-to-people links. You don't get to have trade or defence conversations without it. And so, when you think about it, we've got a very large diaspora here. It's very successful in New Zealand. It's very connected to both countries. It genuinely can be that bridge that we've talked about. Obviously, the thing that would help us a lot would be more air connectivity between our two countries. I spent time talking to the Bollywood industry about what would it take to do more film productions here in New Zealand. When you think about our tourism sector, our education sector, that connectivity becomes quite important. So that expanding of code share and all that things is important. Ultimately getting a direct service and building that up into a direct service is really important as well.
With key dignitaries and momentous discussions, this was a definite uptick in the robust economic partnership between the two countries.
The UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer to visit Albania on Thursday. Starmer's two-day visit to the Southeast European nation will seek to step up efforts to break the crime web fueling illegal migration across the Western Balkans. Talks are expected to focus on cracking down on irregular migration. UK Prime Minister is under pressure to cut the number of irregular migrants arriving on UK shores, many in small boats, amid the rising popularity of the hard-right anti-immigrant Reform Party. And days before the Romanian presidential election runoff, the two presidential hopefuls are neck and neck. According to the latest polls, far-right George Simeon and liberal pro-EU Bucharest Mayor Nicolae Dan are tied at 48%. On 4th May, Simeon won the first round of Romania's presidential election. This Sunday, he will face Nicolae Dan, an independent, in the second round runoff. Navkoki, meanwhile, is one of 13 candidates standing in the first round of Poland's presidential election on the same day. If Simeon wins, Hungary's fiercely anti-immigrant leader Viktor Orban could gain a new ally in the European Council in decisions on aid for Ukraine, energy, sanctions against Russia or the EU's budget. Now, Poland heads to polls on May 18 in a pivotal presidential election with pro-European reformers and nationalist conservatives vying for the country's future direction. The election pits liberal Warsaw Mayor Rafał Trzaskowski against Karol Nawrocki and Sławomir Mencen. Opinion polls show that as a probable winner, although most likely only after a runoff due on June 1st, polling second to replace nationalist ally Andrzej Duda after his 2 terms, who is backed by the nationalist opposition Law and Justice Party. Far-right candidate Sławomir Mencen is third. In Poland, the president has the right to veto legislation and serves as a commander-in-chief but has limited executive powers. The election coincides with the runoff presidential vote in Romania. And the 34th Arab League Summit will be held in Baghdad on May 17, bringing together leaders and representatives from the 22 member states to discuss pressing regional issues, including the ongoing conflicts in Gaza and Sudan, the humanitarian situation in Yemen, and economic cooperation among Arab nations. This marks the first time in over a decade that Iraq will host the summit, signaling Baghdad's efforts to reassert its diplomatic role in the Arab world and promote regional stability. Security has been heightened across the capital, with authorities deploying additional forces to ensure the safety of delegates and smooth proceedings during the high-profile event. And gun battles broke out again in Tripoli, Libya's capital, between the Rada force and the 444 Brigade, despite authorities declaring the fighting over a day earlier. Clashes occurred in key areas, including the port, but eased by the end of the day, allowing some bakeries to reopen. Schools, however, remain closed. This recent violence highlights Libya's ongoing struggle with militia clashes, despite a nationwide ceasefire in 2020. The heavy clashes have resulted in at least 6 deaths. The conflict is part of Libya's ongoing struggle for stability since the 2011 NATO-backed uprising that ousted Muammar Gaddafi. And at least 21 people died in an auto accident on Wednesday on a highway connecting Mexico's Oaxaca and Puebla states. In social media, Puebla Interior Minister Samuel Eguala said the accident involved 3 vehicles and that an unspecified number of other people were being treated for injuries. The truck crashed into a ravine and burst into flames after the collisions, according to the report. The deadly accident follows others on winding steep roads in remote parts of Mexico. And the cellular service in Cuba is about to be back on track after the outage suffered earlier. Cuba's telecom company Texa has made an announcement that it has started the restoration of the cellular service following the outage that severely affected the country capital, Havana, as well as the other outlying provinces. Mobile data is returning, but voice calls and text face congestion. The cause of the outage wasn't shared. This comes as Cuba grapples with daily power cuts crippling the economy and worsening shortages of food, fuel, and medicine. Now, Bangladesh Bank has agreed to adopt a market-based exchange rate regime as per the International Monetary Fund's condition to receive a loan confirmation. The central bank will allow market forces to determine the exchange rate of the dollar, moving away from the current system. IMF agreed to release $1.3 billion of the $4.7 billion loan package in June 2025, which was previously withheld due to disagreement over the implementation of greater exchange rate flexibility through a crawling peg. This move aims to stabilize the economy and attract foreign investment. Now, India is emerging as a cinematic powerhouse with stories that transcend boundaries and languages. Bharat Pavilion was inaugurated at the 78th edition of the prestigious Cannes Film Festival. DD India's Jaya Sinha from Cannes tells us more about it.
Bharat Pavilion was inaugurated at the 78th edition of the prestigious Cannes Film Festival, where industry leaders gather to celebrate the global footprint of Indian cinema, its vibrant storytellers, and the deepening ties between India and the world of global filmmaking.
Everybody that came from waves was understanding the content. India has the largest number of content creators, the largest number of content consumers, the largest number of technologists live in India. So this has been our Prime Minister's vision for a long time, not just that we spoke about it and he said, I'm going to bring this together, Shekhar. The world is not driven by business. The world is driven by storytelling. The world is driven by culture. All of those producers who are sitting here and say, I got money, and they're saying, yeah, do you have a story? Because I have a story. You bring all the money. Money is cheap. Stories are valuable.
Indian cinema, which is its rich storytelling and global influence, continues to inspire audiences and creators across continents including here in France.
The celebrations of International Film Festival of India kick-started with the launch of poster and trailer of the 56th edition of IFFI.
After 40 years in cinema and 545 films, I'm so happy to be here in the Mahakumbh of cinema.
The future of Indian cinema is extremely bright, which is evident with the frequency of international recognition for the films, our filmmakers, and their work becoming a talking point across coveted festivals.
Bharat Pavilion reflects the Indian government's push to promote India as a global hub for content and filmmaking.
Bharat Pavilion is a vibrant platform for filmmakers, distributors, producers and storytellers. From co-production deals to talent connections to policy support, the pavilion offers a glimpse into India's dynamic media and entertainment world. With camera person Sumit, this is Jaya Sinha reporting for DD India from Cannes.
And still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Neeraj Chopra handed major honour by the Indian Army, conferred with honorary rank of Lieutenant Colonel. An IPL to allow temporary replacements for 2025 season restart, but bars them from retention ahead of the next auction.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Heavy rainfall caused severe flooding in western Maryland, particularly in Western Port, where entire roads were submerged and water flooded into a firehouse. Governor Westmore has announced that the Maryland Department of Emergency Management had elevated its Emergency Operations Center status to support the affected areas. Flash flooding prompted the evacuation of over 200 students and staff from the two schools. A devastating wildfire in central Canada has claimed 2 lives and forced 1,000 people to evacuate their homes on Wednesday. Canadian Federal Police confirmed Wednesday that 2 people died in the small community of Lac-du-Bonnet in the central province of Manitoba, which is experiencing unusually hot, dry and windy conditions. There are 24 active fires in Manitoba, 5 of which are considered out of control, authorities said. Authorities have warned the wildfire season in central and western Canada could be more intense than normal due to drought conditions affecting several areas. Now, 3 large wildfires continued to spread across northern Minnesota on Wednesday, with the Jenkins Creek fire rapidly expanding in size to over 20,000 acres. More than 100 structures have been destroyed as the 3 wildfires have burned more than 37,000 acres as of Wednesday evening. Rescue efforts are underway to contain the fire as helicopter dropped fire retardant on the Jenkins Creek fire. Elsewhere in the state, the Camp House fire has now scorched nearly 12,000 acres and the Mangalshaw fire covers 1,300 acres. Rain forecast for the late Wednesday and Thursday could help prevent the situation from deteriorating further. All right, sports updates now. We'll start with Neeraj Chopra's story. India's double Olympic medalist javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra on Tuesday was conferred with the honorary rank of Lieutenant Colonel in the Territorial Army. Neeraj, who was earlier enrolled as a junior commissioned officer in the rank of Naib Subedar in the Indian Army in 2016, was awarded the Arjuna Award in 2018. He received Khel Ratna and Vishish Seva Medal for his meritorious service before getting promoted to the rank of Subedar in 2021. 2 years after being awarded the Param Vishesh Seva Medal, the highest peacetime medal of the Indian Armed Force in 2022. He was promoted to the rank of Subedar Major. In 2022, the former world champion was also named recipient of Padma Shri, the fourth highest civilian award of the Republic of India. IPL now. The Indian Premier League will allow franchises to sign temporary replacement players for the final stages of the rearranged 2025 season, but those players will not be eligible for retention ahead of the next auction. The league will resume on Saturday after its suspension due to cross-border India-Pakistan tensions, with the new dates prompting calendar clashes for a handful of players. However, any temporary replacements signed after the league suspension will not be eligible for retention ahead of the next season. IPL also clarified that any replacements which were approved before the league suspension remain eligible for retention ahead of the next season. The majority of overseas players will return to India for the rest of the season, but some have withdrawn, including Jake Fraser-McGurk and Jamie Overton. And the 7th edition of Khelo India Youth Games 2025 in Bihar will conclude today with a grand closing ceremony. Maharashtra continues its dominance, topping the medal tally with 149 medals. This includes 56 gold and 45 silver medals. Haryana is in second place with 107 medals, including 35 gold and 13 silver medals. Rajasthan stands third with 55 medals. The state won 22 gold and 11 silver medals. Karnataka and Tamil Nadu follow in the 4th and 5th positions. This edition of Khelo India Youth Games featured 28 disciplines, and these included Olympic, non-Olympic and indigenous sports. Malakham, Yogasana and Kho-Kho were among the traditional Indian games. All right, to talk more on this, Narayan Singh is joining us live from Delhi. Narayan, last day of Khelo India Games today. How has been the competition and what all games, if any games, will be played today?
So far we saw the stupendous competition was visible yesterday. There was the track and field where Maharashtra won 10 gold medals, just swelling their points table in the medal table. They're winning the maximum number of golds, total 149 medals. And today its closing ceremony will be there and 3 events are there. So overall we can say that a fantastic event so far, the Khelo India Youth Games. First time Bihar hosting the games, and definitely a big boost for the infrastructure, sporting infrastructure of the Bihar, the way world-class stadiums were there and the facilities for the athletes, for the coaches, and overall everyone who was coming there was fantastic. So we can say that this is a new era in the Bihar sporting landscape. The way the games were hosted, we know that more than 8,000 athletes, coaches, support staff, volunteers. So hosting an event like Khelo India Youth Games, which consists of the Olympic, non-Olympic and the indigenous sports, it shows that Bihar is ready to, we can say that, be there on the sporting map of the India. And this time around they are at the 15th place with 7 gold medals. This shows that the on field also they are progressing well, winning 7 gold medals. So all in all, we can say that the vision of the Prime Minister Modi that was thought in 2017 now has turned into a big, we can say, the victory. All the athletes from the rural areas of the country are getting benefits from this scheme. Here we know that the international athletes and domestic athletes are also taking part. So it is a platform where a stiff competition is there, where the young athletes, rookie athletes are getting a chance to compete with the best in the business.
Competing with best in the business, and Khelo India is all about promoting sports at the grassroots level. Narayan, how was the competition this time around, and any players you can name? Who were the players who stole the limelight in this edition?
Talking about this edition, Abhishek, if you talk about the Khelo India, it's not about any particular star or a particular player. It's about bringing a sporting culture in the country. As we saw that in, especially in cycling, there were the family athletes from a single family. The father was coach the athlete was the winner at the international level, winning the medal at the Khelo India Games, winning 3 gold medals, and her brother also winning, Aditya also winning the gold medal, Harshita winning the 3 gold medals in the cycling. And same, athletes from the background, especially the humble backgrounds, someone's father is a farmer, someone's a laborer. So this is the beauty of these games, that it doesn't know your background. It's all about if you have the talent, if you are have something, you have the desire and the determination to do something through sports for your country. Definitely the system is there with you, and exactly that has happened this time around also. And we can say that definitely this edition of the Khelo India Games has produced multiple stars from very humble backgrounds, and in the future, like Manu Bhakar and Jeremy Dararunga, who was featured in Khelo India Games in the past. They represented India at the Youth Olympics and Olympics. So the tradition will continue, and soon we will see the more stars from the Khelo India Youth Games are shining at the international level.
All right, Naran, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. And thousands of lanterns were released into the night sky at the majestic Borobudur temple in central Java, Indonesia, creating a breathtaking spectacle. The event, attended by people from around the world, marks one of the most significant celebrations in Buddhist calendar. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.